Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Dear
warahmatullahi
friends,
wabarakatuh.
welcome to welcome to our afternoon discussion, which is conducted by 1000 Abrahamic Project. I am Dino Jalal, founder of One Abraham and founder of Foreign Policy Community of Asia, the largest foreign group in our country. And today we have a very interesting discussion. Discussion topic is Ramadan during COVID-19, how and communities in Indonesia, the United Kingdom, and Pakistan for a Ramadan amidst pandemic. And as we all agree, this is the most unique, different Ramadan we experienced for me in my life. Ramadan is a time where we all go out, of a feeling that we feel during Ramadan. But this is a different time. Everything we do is different for our religion, for our prayers, for our work, for our family, for our social behavior, and so on. Everything has changed, and I think the most powerful indication was the closure of Kaaba by the Saudi authority. I think that woke up the whole Muslim community that this is really a dangerous challenge, a dangerous threat. And all of us should do all we can to prevent COVID-19 from spreading to our respective communities. So Ramadan is going to be, or has been, very different this year, and we are here to discuss what is different about it, how are different Muslim communities coping with Ramadan during the time of COVID-19. And we have 4 very engaging experts of Dr. Randes Bambang Gunawan. He is the government official, Director for Information and Communication of Politics, Law and Security at the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia. Sounds like a very powerful title, Bambang Gunawan, right?
Very long title,
We
sir.
have also Dr. Randes. Very long title, yeah. It took me an hour just to read it. And then Dr. Agus Samsudin, he's the chairman of Muhammadiyah COVID-19 Command Center. Muhammadiyah is one of the 2 largest Islamic mass organizations in Indonesia, and I suppose in the world. I don't know how many millions of members that they have. I think somebody, is it 60 million or something?
Less than that.
You can than that case. But just only in the many tens of millions. And actually, I should say that I went to Muhammadiyah Elementary School when I was a kid. Yeah, that was a very good experience. And then we have Faisal Ilyas, from the executive director at Peace Hope Pakistan. He's someone who is very devoted to the cause of promoting the right image of Islam, and also active in the Paris Peace Forum, where I had the pleasure to meet him in 2018. So thank you very much for meeting us. And then we also have Paul Salahuddin Armstrong, who is from the UK. He's the managing director of the Association of British Muslims. So with all that, let's come to our discussions. I'm going to give the floor to Dr. Bambang Gunawan, who will give perspective on how are we adjusting to Ramadan during the time of COVID crisis. Dr. Bambang Gunawan, for yours.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator, Dr. Dino Jalal. Good afternoon, and all panelists and audience. It is a such pleasure for me to join to this topic, and then thank you to moderator and then the committee for organizing this event and giving us the opportunity to participate. For the first time, allow me to touch upon the Maslow theory. According to him, basic human needs are self-actualizations, and then esteem needs, social needs, safety, security, psychological needs, and then now with in the era of the information and communication technology, I think that all of us agree that basic needs also now is including also Wi-Fi and batteries, because it is a kind of part of our soul, that Wi-Fi, that we need it anywhere. And then I can tell you also that the world will never be the same. COVID-19 will drive changes in economic and politics policy in the world in the near future. Likewise, people's perspective, attitude, and behavior will also change, such as the concept of work, and then the culture of healthy living, daily activities, and so on. And then with COVID-19 on the one hand, and the advances of in the information and communication technology on the other hand, more or less will change the pattern of interactions, where people now will tend to prioritize the use of information technology to interact each other. I will also inform you regarding the digital demography in Indonesia. I think that the population in Indonesia now, more or less 272 million people, where 55% living in the urban area. And then based on the data also that there are 338 mobile phone in Indonesia. That the total number of the mobile phone is much more than the people in Indonesia, much more than the population in Indonesia. And then also that internet user is are 175 millions, or 45% than the populations. And then the active social media user, 160 millions. So that the digital demography in Indonesia support interaction in the futures. And then the Minister of Communication and Informatic Technology has the role as the GPR in Indonesia. The ministry informs the people about the program and then the progress of development of government. And then the ministry uses also the communication channel to disseminate information. In the case of COVID-19, the ministry, in this case, Directorate General for Information and Public Communication, is incorporated with other ministry or government institution in a task force. The duties of the task force is conducting public communication, and then agenda setting, monitoring, spokesman, and compiling the report. And then our counterpart in the disseminating information are media, business entities, academics, communities, and government, that we call as the pentahelix. Regarding the situation in this Ramadan, we work together the Ministry of the Religion Affairs to advise people not to do the tradition that we have conducted last year. I think that is only my presentation, and then it will be happy if I can involve in the discussion. Thank you very much, moderator.
Thank you, Pak Bambang.
Yeah, only short presentation, Pak, because my presentation is only in Bahasa Indonesia, and I used to it in the remote area, Pak.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, thank you.
But I think that the one happy thing is that this COVID-19 is happening today as opposed to 20 or 30 years ago, because everybody has a lot of tools to be reached, through handphone, through WhatsApp, internet, and so on. Imagine many years ago when there was no internet and the government could only rely on landline phones and and so right now I think there's an information flood and everybody can be reached. So that's a good thing. Let me move now to Pak Agus Samsudin, which is the chairman of the Muhammadiyah Task Force on COVID-19. Please, the floor is yours. How do you think we are coping with this during Ramadan? Yes.
Thank you, Pak Dino, and everybody. Thank you for inviting me to these sessions, and I think I'm trying to talk as short as possible. This is a great experience for all of us in Indonesia, especially for the Muslims who have the Ramadan in a different way. For the benefit of Paul and Faisal, Pak Faisal, and also audience outside Indonesia, just want to brief what is Muhammadiyah is. Muhammadiyah is established 100 years ago in Yogyakarta with the form of Dakwah Islam, Amar Ma'ruf Nahi Munkar. Approximate member now is about 30 millions. Originally was Islamic purifications and now moved to the progressive Islam. All the activities that we have at the moment is on the educations. We total in Indonesia now have the 137 university or college with 11,000 secondary school, primary school, kindergarten, etc. On the health service, now we have 107 hospitals around Indonesia. And we also have several other activities, including the Muhammadiyah Disaster Management Center, where this team was already involved in many disasters all over the world, including Philippines, Myanmar, Nepal, and then Palestine as well. We also have the social welfares who run orphanage and nursing home, community development, and of course some of the visions related to the Dakwah, which is Majlis Tarjih and Tajdid, the Ijtihad, and then Majlis Tabligh, Dakwah, and Majlis Wakaf, and everything. All the information you can take a look on the this website actually. Okay, let's move to the MCCC. MCCC is Muhammadiyah COVID-19 Command Centers, is the response of this organization Muhammadiyah, where the objective is to coordinate all Muhammadiyah response to COVID pandemic. Is a multidivisional approach actually. Just to give you a few, we also have a Ramadan gift to our friends in Gaza before Lebaran this month. If you take a look of the response, first is on the medical service. Today we have out of 107 hospitals, we have 77 hospitals service on the COVID-19 with more than 4,000 patients at the moment. On top of that, there is a lot of activities. The first one is the public health. This is the campaign, publications, and also giving the guidelines to all Indonesian Muslims. The second one is the advocacy, communication, and collaborations on the webinar, press conference, training, on TV, and everything. We also have mobilized the organizations. Today we have 30 MCCC in provinces in Indonesia, almost all, with 100 on the branches in Indonesia. We also start fundraising as well, yeah, and community development, including food relief. The one that I would like to talk is on the public health, actually, where how can we have the campaign during the Ramadan and the COVID situations. This is part of the publication that we have. For example, the 65 hospitals. This is 2 weeks ago. And we also have here that our university and college also already spent quite a lot of money. And also we targeted to have 100 food relief packets to the end of this year. And half of it is before Eid al-Fitr this year. Everybody know in Indonesia that Ramadan is a holy month for Indonesians, and everybody have the different activities, yeah. Especially with the tradition of mudik, meaning that you back home, you visit your parents, your family. So the stay home campaign by the government is also supported by us as well, especially that we have the pray at home, Friday prayer at home, Ramadan at home, and also no mudik, no more back home during the Eid al-Fitr. We also put guidance, especially how is Muslims should perceive this COVID-19. COVID is, it's just like examination actually from Allah, for example. But we need to have the effort, ikhtiar, especially on the medications. So we treat all the medical team as a jihad for COVID-19 because they are taking risks on the hospital to ensure that people will recover from COVID-19, but at the same time, they have the risk to be infected as well. We also educate people that the fatality actually is a shahid if you died, according to Islam. So it's very important. So overall, we need to have the preventions as needed, yeah, and also a lot of campaign at home. I will show it to you later on, but in the implementation, of course, there's the challenges, especially the one who's still on the, the Jabariyah. We are, if you're afraid to Allah, not to the virus. So no need to do anything, for example. That's kind of people is also happen in Indonesia, where today is also cluster of infectious as well, because these people is, I would like to say, stubborn, not to consider a virus as a very dangerous disease. Feeling bad during Ramadan at home because I stay at home because everybody usually went to the mosque, praying together, a lot of activities, and today we need to go at home. Some people still go to masjid, of course, and also people are going to stress now because they need to stay home for quite some time. So this is a challenge, and we try to educate by webinar, conference, leaflet from television and everything. This is some of the example that Muhammadiyah did. We have the Ramadan at home campaign every day. This is on our television, Muhammadiyah televisions. We also held a press conference every week. And this is the leaflet of the prayer, Eid al-Fitr prayer that we just released yesterday. We also have this is the education especially, because we have the televisions on the daily life. Our schools need also education as well on the agenda of education and socialization. We also produce a guideline of COVID-19, including the prayer and everything. is also can be downloaded into this website under www.covid19muhammadiyah.id. This is some of the example of the activities around Indonesia that we also need to target, especially outside the city, because we have the distance, because of the availability and everything. On top of that, we also put fundraising on the one single. This is the Lazismo. Lazismo is the lembaga wakaf and zakat and sodaqah within Muhammadiyah, and we all channeling all the fundraising through this. Today we have a coordination with the government of Australia with their program, and also coordination with the UNICEF, especially on the campaign on the COVID-19 and during Ramadan. I think that's my experience, Pak Dino. I'll give it back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. By the way, just before I go to Pak Faisal, I want to ask, I haven't been to a mosque since the government said pray at home, right? And I live right next to a mosque, actually.
Okay.
But usually when we pray at the mosque, it's side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and there's no empty space, right? How is it done now? If some people happen to pray at the mosque, how is it? Shoulder to shoulder or no?
No. So we put the distance at least 1 meter. But we are not advised to go to the mosque. But if you still some people, maybe 5 to 10 people, so we put the distancing on there, physical distancing. And we also provide with washing hands with the soap and everything, sanitizers, and also we disinfect all the mosques, to make sure that the mosque is clean. We also have the campaign that the mosque is not the center of the disease. We need to change that mindset, that the mosque is actually, the place that very clean, and to make sure that we educate people.
Okay, one more question, and this question I want Faisal Ilyas to also answer at the beginning of his presentation. So the question to Pak Agus or Pak Bambang is, I notice a lot of people I know have a fatalistic attitude on this. Fatalistic, especially people at the grassroots. Fatalistic means, so what? If I die, I die. I mean, my life isn't so good anyways. If I die, I die. And I'm surprised at how many people I hear this from, right? And which means they become reckless. If they have to violate the rules, then they violate the rules. Do you see this on the field, and what do you say to them?
Actually, it's just close to my house. There is a mosque, and the one that you said is fatalistic. I would like to say that I mentioned earlier, it's a Jabariyah. You no need to pray to the virus. You need to pray to Allah. And apparently this person is infected. So, and we have the camera right on the mosque. So by that day we tracking the people and start to isolate the one who near these guys. And the guys is stubborn enough and dare enough to still go to the mosque. But at the end, the police came to his house. If you don't follow the rules, I'll take you to the police station. And they start to be, okay to stay at home, to be self-isolated. That's happened,
Okay. All right. Let me go to Pak Faisal, the same question, and then please then proceed with your remarks.
Doctor, it's very important, and in each country we have a large number of people with the same mindset, that they think that it's when we have to die, we will die, but don't follow the rules, don't go with the SOPs government has announced and medical experts has already explained on social media, and national or local TV channels. But unfortunately, it has been observed that many people just go out without without taking care of him or herself. Or yes, they think that, especially I would like to talk about the young people. They think that we have uh, uh, very good health, and we have a very good immunity system, so we can fight with the virus. But when they go out without following the SOPs or the guiding instructions, so they go out, and they carry the virus. And when they go back to their home, and definitely their parents, their grandparents, they can be if infected with the same virus, and they unfortunately they can die. So it happens. And I also observed in Pakistan as well. Recently I gave a message through social media and local channel that please, young people, don't say that we are Superman. Try to understand that it's a virus, and yeah, we can defend against the virus. We can be safe, but we can transfer this virus from one person to other. So do not try to become a carrier of the virus. So it happens. It's real.
How is the Pakistani community adapting to the COVID-19 so far?
Yeah, like since 14th March, we are in lockdown situation, and meanwhile, government has announced twice relaxation due to the people who are daily wagers and factory workers and all. But I have observed a large group of people who really think and who have a capacity to search the WHO's uh, recommendations and government 20 points of census. So people are thinking that it's part of our nature now, the COVID-19, and we have to live with it. So they are taking care of themselves, and they are using precautionary measures, like they use face masks and wearing gloves and using hand sanitizers. So it's good, and I hope that more people can adopt such kind of lifestyle now to on.
Mhm. Okay. Um, I'll get back to you, Faisal. Now I'm going to go to Paul Armstrong. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Dino?
Good. All right. Well, uh, thank you for joining us. Paul Armstrong is the managing director of the Association for British Muslims. How is Ramadan in the UK, and how I mean, everything's turned upside down before because of COVID-19. But what are the adjustments made by the Muslim community during the Ramadan?
It's certainly a bit different from normal. The Ramadans that I've experienced previously, it's you know, the United Kingdom is obviously a bit different from obviously Pakistan and Indonesia, because in the UK the Muslim communities are a minority. So the situation in the UK is a little different. Like in Indonesia, you've got these big organizations like Nahdlatul Ulama, Muhammadiyah, that have lots of schools and hospitals and things like this. Whereas in the United Kingdom, this is often provisioned by the state, by the government. And Muslims are, you know, they take part in that. So the NHS put out guidelines very early on about social distancing, the same ones that the WHO put out. In the UK, we actually have been following a 2-meter social distancing measure. And within a very short time, mid-March, all of the religious leaders, not just the Muslim leaders, but all of the religious leaders. And I'm telling you, this is really quite remarkable, because in the UK, never mind the other religions, there's not just 2 Muslim organizations in the UK. There are so many Muslim organizations. And the Association of British Muslims, which I lead, is the oldest of these. And so our national Muslim organizations, like the association, try to coordinate all these other Muslim organizations and help sort of make some kind of organization and network, and everybody coming together on sort of common sense grounds, whatever the issues are. And so when this started to happen in March, then all of the faith leaders came together from all of the different religions and told their congregations, pray at home. I mean, this was in Easter as well. So it's not just for Muslims with Ramadan. It was a very crucial time for Christians with Easter, because this is their biggest festival actually in Christianity. A lot of people think it's Christmas. It's actually Easter. And the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Catholic leaders as well, also came out and says, don't go to church, pray at home. We even had the Archbishop of Canterbury doing his Easter service in his kitchen. I've never seen this before. You know, it got criticized by some people within the Anglican Church and say, how can you do this? What are you doing to our religion? Because, you know, their specific ways that they have the whole thing set up, it's a lot more rigid like than it is within Islam. It's like, for us, we want to pray, we just stick a mat down and pray, you know. Even if you don't have a mat, as long as it's a clean carpet, it's fine, or just stick your scarf down, you know. And we do our prayers. It's not like there's like so much special equipment and things that has to be performed according to a certain ritual. So it was really quite unusual to see the Archbishop of Canterbury doing his Easter service in his kitchen. But this is good. I mean, it shows the interfaith that we've built up in the UK over many years. I think going back to the 1970s, that it really started to be developed. That all of these faith leaders, the chief rabbi also from the Jewish community, the chief Hindu leaders and Sikh leaders, all of them come together and told their congregations, pray at home. And predominantly, they've been following this. And even I've never been so proud to be a Muslim in the UK, because our Muslim communities have all shut the mosques and stayed at home and followed the guidance really a lot better than I would have ever expected anyway. Let's put it that way. There are some people within the community who are spreading conspiracy theories. There are some people, you know, these less well-educated ones, and like the Jabari ones, we don't use that word, but we have, unfortunately, we have some people like that in the UK as well. But fortunately, they're not the people running their mosques now, because the mosques are shut. And that has been the case since mid-March. I started social distancing actually a few days earlier, and it's only been like this last week, since Monday, as the figures started to come down, that our Prime Minister Boris Johnson has actually made an announcement to start relaxing a little bit some of these measures. We're still in lockdown, but you know, more people are allowed to work now. More things are allowed to open, as long as people follow the social distancing measures. So it's like if we go to the supermarket, which the supermarkets have been open so we can buy food, there's like 2 meter social distancing, and they only allow a certain number of people into the supermarket. So it can feel a bit like Soviet Russia at times, you know, when you actually go to the supermarket to do your shopping, but at least it's keeping people safe. And these measures, again, they've been in place since mid-March when the lockdown started. All unessential business had been shut down until, like I said, this week things are starting to open again. As for more specifically towards the Muslim community, groups of scholars from the different Sunni and Shia groups came together in the Dar al-Iftar and issued guidance. I think it's largely based upon the Al-Azhar guidance. But the Dar al-Iftar, they put out a fatwa from these different Muslim communities in the UK, again, recommending the closure of mosques, the social distancing, the WHO guidelines, and also when it's like, because obviously, sadly, a lot of people have died in this pandemic. And I mean, I've actually got the figures here. As of 5 p.m. on the 14th of May, 33,998 people have sadly died in the UK. This is the latest Department of Health and Social, government statistics. And altogether, 1,663,492 people have been tested, of which 236,711 were tested positive. So, I mean, sadly, and also unfortunately, diaspora communities have suffered more from these, more deaths than other communities. I don't know the actual up to the minute statistics, but a couple of weeks ago, something like a quarter of the people who had died were actually from diaspora communities. And we were wondering why this was, because obviously we've been following these guidelines very strongly. Some suspicion is that it might be because we have a very heavy presence of people from the diaspora communities, including like the British Pakistani community, who work within the National Health Service as doctors. They are frontline workers. So because of that, they've been putting themselves in harm's way in order to help save other people's lives. And we are suspecting that this may have something to do with why the figures are higher. I mean, and it is very troubling. There is actually, I believe, a government inquiry that's being launched to fully understand why this has happened and what the government can do to support these communities. Obviously, it is a concern, but because obviously we have had deaths and a lot more than normal, this also puts pressure on the mosques. The one thing the mosques are still open for is for taking care of funeral services, which are very minimal. There's only absolute, I think about 6 or 7 people allowed to actually attend these services, and they have to stay 2 meters apart. They have to be wearing PPE, and they go to the graveyards. And this was the guidance that was put out by this Dar al-Iftar in the UK that I mentioned, from all of the different groups come together. They put out guidelines how to conduct the funeral at the graveyard without putting people at risk. And only about, I think, 6 people are allowed into the cemetery, and they have to wear PPE. They have to stand 2 meters apart. They do the Jamaat that way for the prayer, for the funeral prayer, for the Janazah prayer. And then they obviously bury the body. The bodies were already, they're wrapped up in plastic from the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK, so that, there's no contamination. Obviously, people are using disinfectant and hand sanitizer and everything that is necessary to make sure people keep themselves safe. And I, like I said, I'm really proud, considering we do have this element within our communities as well that are a bit ignorant and don't think that you need to follow these things. That how well the Muslim community has actually come together and organized itself in the UK to be able to address this issue. One of our biggest concerns, though, is we've had some people on the far right. So these Nazi and civil nationalist type groups who have been spreading false information about Muslims and about the diaspora communities and claiming that we haven't been following the guidance. So one of the things we're having to deal with on top of all this COVID-19 is racism and anti-Muslim prejudice. And it is something that we are doing what we can to counter message and address that.
Mm-hmm. Paul, that's very interesting what you said about the angle of the far right making racist accusations and so on. I'm wondering if in the UK there's also any racist, any signs of racist tendencies against Chinese, against Asians, because we are seeing this in some other parts of the world. Yeah, is this? Are you seeing this also in the UK?
We've had some reports of this. I mean, it doesn't seem to be on the same scale of some of the things I've seen from America, we have had some reports, and obviously, I mean, this is taken very seriously in the UK because every one of us, regardless of our ethnic background, is a citizen in the UK, and we are protected in UK law. So, you know, when, you know, a certain group within our society gets targeted, the police do log these cases as racist crimes, you know, or as anti-Muslim crimes, or whatever the issue happens to be. And they monitor and address that. And, you know, it is fully against the law, and taken very seriously by law enforcement. But it is something that we are keeping an eye on. I mean, one of the things in the UK, the virus is not being called the Chinese virus. It's being called COVID-19. So it's, it originated there, but I think most people are aware of the fact that just because it originated there, that doesn't mean that, you know, every Chinese person is, you know, guilty of spreading the virus. I mean, this is something obviously particularly close to my heart because my wife is Chinese. She's originally from China. So I always ask her after a week or so, is everything okay? Have you had any encounter with anything like this? Because it does concern me, because I hear media reports. And she's told me, she says, generally, no, it's okay. When she's gone out and she's done a shopping or something, or she's had to go to, because she does translation, so occasionally she still has a translation appointment at the NHS. So it's, you know, she says generally it's okay, but obviously people are wary at the moment, and Chinese community in the UK is quite wary. But it could be worse, you know.
Okay. Well, thank you for your update, Paul. Now let's go back to discussions for all of us. Let me ask the Indonesian friends, but also want Faisal and Paul to answer this. So we're gonna have Lebaran, or in Indonesia it's called Lebaran, Eid in English, very soon. I think next week or so. For us in Indonesia, what do you think is going to happen? Will we actually have a little bit more normal Lebaran? Because I think in Jakarta, the partial lockdown ends on the 22nd, right? And Lebaran is on the 24th.
Yep.
So what's going to happen? Yeah. And then I want to ask our Pakistani and British friend the same question. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Pak Bambang atau Pak Agus. Silakan.
Okay. Yesterday, MCCC just released to have the Salat Idul Fitri at home, you know. So we are not recommend actually to have a Salat Idul Fitri outside or even in the mosque, because if you do that, there is a gathering a lot of people. So we are very strongly said to on that release yesterday that Muhammadiyah encourage all the Muslims to stay home during the Idul Fitri. So technically,
but going to the parents, how about going to the parents' home? Is that also including? Yeah,
we are not recommend to do that. Yeah. So everybody, please still stay at home. It's very strong recommendation actually, because up to now, we do not have any idea how to kill the virus, you know. And this is very important message that we need to spread out to everybody. Even yesterday, one of our brands was starting to have the prayer on the field. And when we knew that, we directly, quote unquote, screw him, come on. Don't do this, because if you do that, it will be, you know, point of infected as well, you know. So we are very strong not to advise on the Salat Eid. So you need to Salat Eid at home then. That's the
Pak Bambang.
Yeah. Yes, Pak. The government, I think, should appreciate the Muhammadiyah and other Islamic organization in Indonesia that we are in the same way regarding the Ramadan or Idul Fitri at home. I think a few days ago that the government, especially the Ministry of Religion Affairs, issued a circular letter number 6 regarding the guidelines to Ramadan and Idul Fitri. And then I think it is followed by all the community, because it contains regarding that I can say in a simple sentence that you cannot do now what you could do last year during Ramadan and Idul Fitri. That is the content of the letter from the Minister of the Religion. So it is supported by all Islamic organization in Indonesia, and we should appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, I think that's going to happen to me. I'm going to have the Salat Eid at home. I'm going to have to give a khutbah, but it's going to be very short
Yes.
khutbah, because I'm not very good, very good imam, right?
But at least you have the experience then to be imam, you know.
Yeah. I'll just say, be good. Everybody be good. Okay. Faisal, how's Eid going to be celebrated in Pakistan?
Yeah, yes, as it is mentioned earlier that 20 points of precautionary measures should be followed by all for safety. And if we talk about upcoming religious events, that is Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha and then Christmas, so on and so forth. Until we defeat COVID-19 pandemic, we have to follow the precautionary instructions shared in 20 points, like President of Pakistan, Mr. Arif Alvi said, and worldwide according to the country situation. So I think the same case in Pakistan as well, that we are in a lockdown situation, and government has already announced SOP with 20 points. So I think on Eid, definitely the same SOP will be followed, hopefully. And through this medium, I would like to give a message to my country fellows that definitely we have to save all Pakistanis and our country fellows. So we have to follow the guidelines. So I think people will follow the guidelines, and if they go to mosques, then definitely they will keep distance, and they will use mask and gloves and all. So I think it would be better for all.
Regarding the 20-point action plan,
Yeah.
the Pakistan Medical Association Secretary General, Dr. Kaiser Sayat, he has made some criticism of the
Yes.
20-point plan, saying that it still allows congregational prayers at mosques, right? And this can be dangerous, and other doctors have also been urging for a strict lockdown of the country. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, before I give the answer of this question, I would like to remind that my presentation is still pending to be presented. So I was waiting for that time.
Sir. Yes. Okay. Please do. Sorry, I thought what you said earlier were actually your presentations. Yeah. But by all means, I would like to give you some time to give your presentation.
Yeah, sure. And let me answer your question. It's true that all doctors and medical experts observing that the COVID-19 patients are increasing day by day, and definitely we have to strict the lockdown, and without giving any relaxation in the lockdown. So government is in a very difficult situation, that people from the poor backgrounds, they are putting pressure on government that we will die due to starvation. So yes, because they are daily wagers, and they are staying since 14th March at home. So it's been like more than 2 months, and how they can earn money and how they can feed their children, their families. So that's why uh, they consulted religious leaders uh, with the economy experts, and they sat together and they decided 20 points to be followed as action plan in Pakistan. So they decided to relax, to give relaxation in lockdown. So yes, medical experts and paramedical staff who are the frontliners, they are fighting with this disease. And even we have observed many doctors and many nurses are being affected with this virus and even died. So that's why they are opposing, and even opposition in in Pakistan is also opposing the decision that government has made that we should strict the lockdown. Still, we get a better situation in Pakistan, as we are increasing uh, coronavirus patients in Pakistan. So yeah, it's a difficult situation for government and for the poor families who are daily wages and working in factories as well. So government is trying to cope the situation uh, with consultation of religious leaders, you can say the provincial governments, and that's why they decided uh, 20 action points. And yes, they gave relaxation in lockdown, but they said that we have to follow the SOP, the precautionary measures, so social distancing. But when we talk about population and people from different backgrounds, they follow the SOP in their own way. So you can't implement your SOP 100%. So we are hoping that things will be better soon. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, this next question is to both the Pakistanis and Indonesian participants. I was informed that in Indonesia, the hardline Muslims are now in the same line as the moderate Muslims in fighting COVID-19, right? So is that what is your is that accurate? And if that's accurate, that's great news. And is this also happening in Pakistan? Yeah, yeah. Pak Agus, I think you would be best to answer this. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's very interesting, because at the beginning there is still, like I told you earlier, that some people are still, no need to afraid to virus. You need to be afraid to Allah. But at the end, when it's happened, that this person is infected and infected others and become the cluster of infection actually, then everybody now, will understand. Because if I should tell you, a lot of experience of my friend who infected is very painful, You don't want to hear that, because this one is also deadly virus. So the good thing is I would like to say that very less common for the hardliners today. Yeah. The good thing is they're still helping others, but I saw a lot of improvement on these issues. Yeah. No more debate, I would like to say.
Yeah. Pak Faisal, in Pakistan, I understand a lot more hardline Muslims. There are a lot of them. So how is it there? Yeah.
Yeah, it has been observed that when lockdown was applied since 14th March, and later like 1 week or after 2 weeks, the hardline Muslims they started their religious activities, and police came and they said that it's not allowed. You can't go to mosque, and the gathering is not allowed. So even we have observed that in different times. Like in Karachi, we observed that they had a fight with the Muslim with the policemen as well. So it was a very difficult time. But after the consultation of Mr. President with the religious government with the religious leaders, they come up with the solutions that we have to sit together and we have to give a message to our communities, like religious leaders. They sat together and they spread the message uh, through their mosques and through their madrasas. So I think yes, some people are still opposing the lockdown situation, and they really want to go to mosques, but I think they have to follow the instructions delivered by the government.
Well, my next question, I want to ask to Paul first, but I want all the other three to also answer it. I think one of the things that will be the impact of COVID is on the question of mental health. And I think it's something that hasn't been discussed well enough, adequate enough by the society. But definitely, you know, Pa Agus has said, people are getting stressed out everywhere. Yeah, and there are more divorces. People who are losing job are losing hope. There's a lot of domestic violence. There's a lot of abuse. Some people say there's more divorce now, right? And even child abuse is increasing, and so on and so on, right? So mental health will be a challenge during and after the COVID-19. Now, Paul, I'm just wondering if you can comment on this, and is there any way that the religious communities, the Muslims in Britain, are addressing this, or if they acknowledge it as a problem even? Yeah. Please, Paul. Yeah.
It's certainly something people are aware of. Like I said, the health provision in the UK tends to come through the NHS, and that also includes the mental health provision within our system in the UK. Also, the other points that you mentioned, I mean, domestic violence is something which the police are becoming a lot more alert about now, because obviously people they're trapped in homes and whatever, and so there's been a lot of I've seen a lot of posts online that have come from our police forces in the UK to make people aware this is an issue, and to take it very seriously, and also to remind people that although we've been in lockdown, if you need help, reach out to those people within authority, within the police, within the NHS. We are there. And the NHS has also released similar kind of posts and saying, although we are fighting COVID-19, we are not just the COVID-19 service. If you have other issues, please contact us. Don't think that we're not open for business. So this has been made very clear. And also, I think one of the things in this country we always talk about the NHS, National Health Service, but we have to give a big round of applause to Her Majesty's Armed Forces, because they actually came in and supported the NHS and opened up Nightingale hospitals in London, in Birmingham and other parts of the country, which were, in many cases, these are like conference centres that have been converted into hospitals by Her Majesty's Armed Forces, by the Royal Engineers and other people that do this within the Armed Forces, to make that available. And also the Armed Forces have made some of their PPE equipment available. They've also made their doctors available, because there's a lot of doctors within the Armed Forces to support the National Health Service. And I think because of that, it's also took a lot of pressure off the National Health Service, so that they are able to remain open for business in all these other areas, including mental health provision.
Okay. Agus, any comment on this?
You're right. We anticipate that, Pak Dino. So we have the hotline, actually, call center. Our call center provides 3 services. The first one is on the COVID-19. The second one is on the religious services, on the ibadah. And the third one is on the psychologists. So we already have 42 psychologists standby to handle the call from audience, because we feel that the impact of COVID-19 is not only, there is a lot of impact, economy, social, and then psychology. And this become one of our concerns as well. I do not put on my presentation, but actually we have the call center. So technically it's very simple. You register, and then we put a schedule, and you make a call, and you can talk to our psychologist. So we have that. We have that.
Yeah. Instinctively, Pak Gus, do you think there are more optimistic people than pessimistic people, or there are more pessimistic people than optimistic people? Without referring to any survey.
Yeah, I haven't checked that, but I have a community where, let's say on the middle up is not really, they can stay for 3-6 months, they still have the saving. But on the middle low, that's become a problem. And I think government should react very fast on this, because if not, and then become a disaster in the future, I believe that last night the Minister of Economic already released a stimulus to, on the small medium enterprise support, and I think this is a good sign that the government is also take a note on this. The middle low is a disaster, they cannot stay for 2 months, stay at home, because if they stay more than that, they will, they will starving. If you feel starving, then anything can happen, So
Yes.
that's my feeling.
Yeah, Pak Bambang,
I agree.
your comment on yes, please, on the mental health. Yes, yeah.
Yes, I agree that to be at home day by day, weeks by week, and then months by months makes people get bored. I agree with that. But I found in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, in my area, in Depok, we are lucky, I think, that because we have gadget with us, so even we are at home, we still can communicate with other people outside the home. And then now during Ramadan, now I observe also that after Salat Asar, people go outside by motorcycle, but still wearing the mask, so that they understand that it is dangerous. They buy something, but still keep the distance outside. Then what I know, based on the information that in Indonesia, especially, that pregnancy rate is increased, I think. and then the natality also after 9 months from now also will be increased, I think.
Yes. We need to expect that, Pak, then.
Yes, I think it's my opinion. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Lastly, I asked Pak Faisal, and then after that, I will ask something from the audience. Yeah, Pak Faisal, do you have any quick comment on the mental health? Yes.
Yeah, in Pakistan, if I talk about more than 2 months, people are in lockdown situation, and I must say, it's not lockdown; it's a soft prison that people are feeling like we are in a prison. That we can't go out, and we can't go to the other cities as well. So I think COVID-19 affects politically, economically, uh, health is affect a lot. So psychologically, it has affected a lot, right? And people are really now frustrated and what should we do, and what will be the future of humanity on Earth.
Mhm.
So frustration comes out in different directions, like divorce rate is increasing, like Mr. Bang said that uh, the pregnancy rate will increase as well. So a lot of issues will raise, and definitely raising as well. So child abuse, you said that child abuse is a social illness that we are falling rapidly in this social evil as well. So I think with the passage of time, we have to learn, we have to we have to cope with the situation, that how to come out from this situation with positive mindset. It's very important to understand, and many people are trying to understand, and even awareing the other people as well, because when we talk about Pakistan, we have a large number of people living in rural areas. They are not educated. They don't have access of the internet services, and they are not very much aware people. So lot of social disturbances are being observed in that areas. So I think with the passage of time, we have to uh, learn, and we have to live with this situation. And yes, all the social disturbances, no doubt, hitting our mind and hitting our thoughts and psychology, that how we will survive with this virus. And with the passage of time, it will create more problems and issues with human dignity worldwide. So I think all researchers, all medical experts are working on it, and we hope and we pray that may Allah bless us all, and give wisdom to deal with this COVID-19.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's take some questions from the public. We have about 15 minutes. Yeah. There's one from Karenina Lasrindi. And the question is, how should religious communities and countries prepare for future religious celebrations if we're still living with this pandemic in our daily life? And I think I want to connect this to a point made by Pa Agus earlier, before the show started. That you mentioned this is probably going to be 2 years ahead. We're going to be stuck with this, until the vaccine is found, right? So does that mean that restrictions on religious activities will happen at least for the next 2 years, or is there other options? Yeah, please, any one of you who want to answer this, give you the microphone now. Anybody?
Yeah,
Yeah,
may I answer?
please.
I would like to mention Christian community in Pakistan is almost 2%, like 4 million of the total population having the Holy Land season uh, for 40 days of fasting since 14th March. Lockdown was being announced. All mosques, churches, and other worship places were closed to avoid gathering. Easter was being celebrated on 12th April by staying at home. Churches were closed globally. Online sermons were shared by the churches on social media and local TV channels. Being responsible citizens of the country, everybody should follow the guidelines or SOP announced by the heads to avoid emergency. Like Mr. Paul Armstrong shared in his earlier speech, and sharing that yes, all over the world we have to set the schedule with COVID-19, and definitely if we set the schedule or reschedule our life with COVID-19, that will be better to save more people on Earth. I think it should be implemented uh, in all countries, uh, globally, you can say. And I think we have to reschedule our life and life activities.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment on that?
Okay, let me. Yesterday, I have a discussion with a doctor, and one of the quotes is from the very famous doctor from United States, saying that you are not the set of the timeline. The virus now is setting the timeline, meaning that our activity, our behaviors will depend on the how can we deal with this virus. My prediction in Indonesia is that today we are two dichotomy, right, between health and economy. So, but I think both of them need to, you know, hand in hand together, because we cannot choose either one, you know. So if the government will start to release, let's say within quarter 3 or quarter 4 this year, then the activity will be, you know, stuck a little bit. And I think the religious activity will also start that as well. However, there must be a protocol that need to be, you know, to be used. You know, like today we already set the protocol, right? That the distance. If you go to the mosque, you need to wash hands, hand sanitizer, and you need to, you know, physical distance 1.5 years. You know, so the shaft is actually the distance is 1.5 meters, for example. Yeah, and after that, no need to shake hand, everything, and then you need to go home. So I think this will happen. My prediction is by the end of the year, it will be need to have a limitations number of people going to the mosque. So it will be the same, you know, like today, some of the supermarket already have queue in line, right? So if you already 25 people inside, then stop the queue. And if somebody already go out from the supermarket, and yeah, let's go in, you know. So I think the new normal will be like that, and using the gadget and also the handphone, it will be very useful in the future. But I think that's the new normal will be like that. But at least I would like to say this condition up to the end of next year.
Okay. This is a question from one. Sorry, anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair estimate. We're going to be under some kind of restrictions for at least another year, possibly a year and a half. And because that's roughly the timeline when these vaccines should hopefully become available, so that, you know, once people are vaccinated, then hopefully we can go back to, I hate this term, new normal. You know, it's not normal. This is temporary measures. God forbid this becomes a new normal. That would be terrible. But yeah, I mean, obviously, in the meantime, we've got no choice. We have to do that because that's the only way that people can remain safe.
Yeah.
Social distancing measures, masks, the WHO advice. But at the same time, the UK at the moment is looking at how we can open and keep people safe. You know, because for the same reasons that you guys said, I mean, there has been some support given to people in the UK who have been furloughed from work to try to save their jobs. But at the same time, there's only so long that the government can afford to do that. And that money would obviously have to be recouped by the Treasury. So it's like, even in a developed country like the UK, it's like, it's not something that can go on for very long. And I realize, I mean, people in other countries, it's even more of a struggle for governments to be able to cope with this. And I think sometimes this is something that we should also take away from this for our international organizations that are often based in developed countries, that they also need to be aware that the situation is going to be different from how a developed country can cope with this and how a developing country can cope with a situation like this, and make sure that the advice that they're giving to developing countries is advice that they can actually implement. Because, I mean, as you guys said, and I mean, I have friends, you know, many countries around the world, and they've been telling me this. I know they've been struggling. It's like, I mean, how are they going to eat? And if they got no money, if they got no food, how are they going to eat? The very, very basic thing. And when it comes down to that, people will end up breaking whatever guidelines are in place because they have to eat. They have to support their families. So this is something that it does need to be looked into as to how people can work, but in a safe way. And it's not easy. We even here, the government is trying to come up with it. I mean, people have questioned Boris's latest advice because he's saying you can go back to work now, but if you go back to work, but not everybody, it's better if you stay at home. And they're like, well, what does he want us to do? Stay at home or go to work? I know what he's saying. I understand what he's saying, but I can also understand why people are getting confused. He's just opening it up for more people to go back to work. But at the same time, only if you have to. If you can stay at home, stay at home. But people don't understand, and it's like they don't want to make people think that it's safe. And even I made a video the other day and said there's going to be no safe time to open. As long as this virus is out there, as long as the population are not immune to the virus, there is no safe time to open. It will only be safe when the population is immune to the virus. And that either means a large percentage of the population catching it and getting better, or people getting the vaccine. And we don't want the former, because if that happens, then a lot of people are going to die. A lot more people than have died already. And hospitals will be overwhelmed. I mean, and people, it's constantly kind of reminding people why we've put this in place. The hospitals can only cope, even with all the Nightingale hospitals that have been built, they can only cope with a certain number of people in the hospital at any one time. That doesn't cure the virus. It's just, staying at home is stopping the spread of the virus so that the hospitals are not overwhelmed. And then opening up a little bit to allow the virus to spread a little bit, but not too much, so that you increase the immunity in the population without putting too many people at risk, and making sure you've got enough free hospital beds that if people do need that, they can get to the hospital, they can get their lives saved. Because obviously, if all the beds in the hospitals are full, there would be people dying who could be saved. This is the point. And I think a lot of people, they still don't kind of grasp that's the point of the measure. And it's not everybody, even here, not everybody's scientifically literate. Not everybody grasps that. And people are fed up. They've been staying at home for 2 months. Their incomes are running low. They want to go out to work. They want to do things. And it's managing that frustration of people and making sure that they get the right information and support. I mean, obviously, the Premier League, everything's cancelled until next year. So, for us, it's a big disappointment for you guys, because I know a lot of people follow it.
Yes.
But it is what it is. They've had to do that. All of the sporting things, all of the things that would normally be open for attractions and fun, they're closed. And that's going to continue for the at least for a year. I'm hoping it's not going to continue beyond that, because if it continues beyond that, then that's going to be really difficult to turn around.
Okay. By the way, I noticed your batik and your peci, Paul. So thank you for wearing them. Yeah. I have a last question before we end our discussion. And so my question is this: the religious leaders in Indonesia, in Pakistan, in the UK have done a good job on spreading the message of lockdown. Stay home. And that's been very helpful to the government. But I take note of what Pa Agus says, that now from health emergency, we are moving to economic emergency, social emergency. And that's also very tough. So my question is, do you think our religious leaders should also speak about social and economic solidarity in their khutbah? Not just the lockdown aspect, but the solidarity aspect. Because to be honest, I haven't heard that enough, right? Mostly I heard about lockdown aspect. I'll start with Pa Agus, and then Pa Bambang, Pa Faisal, and then Paul, and then we close. Pa Agus.
Thank you, Pak. Yesterday we have the chairman of Muhammadiyah have a conversations on YouTube with Gojek, yeah, because we have a cooperation on the fundraising with Gojek. Gojek is startup in Indonesia application. So one of the important thing is the spirit of ta'awun. Ta'awun means helping each other, right? So during this the pandemic, we need to have the spirit of helping each other. We already make a statement last week, 2 weeks ago, that during the Ramadan, for example, you need to look to your neighbor, you know, your left side, neighbor, right side, on your front side, right? Because it will be, you know, no matter how good you are in praying, you know, to do all the ritual, but if your neighbor is starving, meaning that, you know, everything you need for your ritual is nothing because your neighbor is starving, you know. This kind of message we already start to deliver, Pak Niko. And I really hope during the Lebaran, we are having a plan to put our chairman on the televisions and start to say that, you know, that everybody in the country should help each other. And this is the time now not to blame others. It's a time to focus how can we survive from this pandemic. I think that's the message that we will deliver on the Eid al-Fitri coming soon. Thank you, Pak.
Pak Bambang, same question.
Yeah, Pak.
Bambang, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can hear you, Pak. At the first step, we appreciate the ulema, the religion leader in Indonesia, and then in the first step, we propose them to assist the government to persuade people, and then now it worked, I think, because there is no more resistance from, especially from the hardliner in Indonesia. That no need to worry about virus. I didn't hear that anymore. And then I think the second step that as the government public relation, we are preparing the communication strategy for the post virus spread. And then I think that we will still need the assistance from the ulema, something like that, to assist us. And then so there will be no more resistance from the community. At the second step, I think we will propose through the ulemas that they will encourage people regarding viruses from the economic sides. And then because at the moment government preparing for the some stimulant, that government prepare some of fund to recover the economic. We need still the ulema for that. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Pak Faisal, will
Yes.
religious leaders socio-economic solidarity as their next messaging on COVID-19? 2 minutes, yeah.
Yes. Due to the poverty conditions in Pakistan, government has already released a package like grocery relief packages and support amount of 12,000 rupees for each family to the people living below the poverty line. And number is very high, you know, the poverty in Pakistan. Critics and political position is also trying to help the people who are living under the poverty lines. And here I would like to give a suggestion to all our ulama that during Friday prayer or khutbah, they can spread a message like uh, people are not coming in a large number in mosques, so they can record and they can make a video of that khutbah, and they can send through social media, they can send through YouTube channels and local channels to give a message to the community that in this trying time, in this surviving time, we have to survive one another. We have to survive human beings and faith both at a time. So it's a very good time to test your faith, that how much good understanding of yours about Hakuk Abad and Hukuk Allah. So it's very important. It's a big base of the religion, that Hakuk Allah and Hukuk Abad, uh, rights of the people and right of God. So we have to understand this. It's a very good time to practice this. That we have to pray to God that save us all, and we have to help people like next to our doors. So it's a best time to practice this, that Hukala and Hukalabad. So I think religious leaders can play a very good role. If I talk about uh, uh, Christianity and Islam, uh, these big and giant religions in the world, uh, consisting more than 50% of the total population of the world, the total population of the world. So the religious leaders from your project, Thousand Abrahamic Circles project, is a very good initiative that you can initiate. You can spread a message to the whole community, like Christian religious leaders and Muslim religious leaders. They can come together and they can give a very valid message to the whole world, that it's a time to practice your faith. It's a time to save humanity with love, with bhaichara and with, So with such kind of religious values, we can save the world. We can give a very positive message to the world, to give a hope to the world that we are all together in this difficult time. So I think religious leaders can play a very good role, and I really uh, wanna my heart message to the religious leaders or ulama, that please try to give a message to all people who, all families who can support to the poor ones, who can support to the people who are in hunger, in starvation, so they can go, like Ramadan is a holy month, and charity is a big value of humanity. So like recently, his Holiness Pope Francis called Day of Prayer, Fasting, and Charity. And in Pakistan, many inter-religious leaders came together, and they offered prayers, that in this time of surviving, and in this difficult time and pandemic, we can come together and we can give a message of hope to the hopeless. So it's a
Thank you.
good time to think uh, how to help the people in danger and in starvation. So religious leaders can play a very good role, I
Yeah.
must say. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Faisal. Paul, you have the word. You have exactly 1 minute and few seconds
1 minute.
to say your last words. Yeah.
Okay. There's a number of mosques in the UK have actually converted to food banks. I mean, a number of them probably had small food banks initially, but they've expanded this, and they're actually distributing food to local communities. A number of Muslim charities are doing the same thing. This is an extension of things which were already happening, and this is for the whole community. It's not just for Muslims; it's for anybody who reaches out to them, or anybody they know is in need. And I think this is an excellent way forward, especially during this time.
Good. Okay. But this has been a wonderful discussion, and I hate to cut it off because we're exactly at 4:30. but I want to thank everybody in the group for giving your thoughts, and I think your opinions were very honest and very useful for the Ummah to hear. And I love the hearing different views from Indonesia, UK, Pakistan, but all these views complement one another. And I think we all agree that in the next few month or year or two, we have to get used to Muslims praying in a less communal, physically way. Yeah, but we need to be more generous. We need to be to show more solidarity, right? Become even more spiritual in our faith, in our iman. And I know for a fact that the Muslims and our religious leaders are part of the solution to the global effort to beat COVID-19. So I want to thank everybody, Pak Agus Samsudin, Pak Bambang Gunawan, Faisal Elias, my friend from Pakistan, also from Paris, and Paul Armstrong from London. I was intending to see you in London this year, but I'm sorry, that has to wait until next year. Yeah. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good iftar, and I hope for your family to stay well and healthy. Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Faisal. Good to know you.
Thank you.
Pak Paul.
Yeah.
Also good to know you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very
Nice
nice.
to meet
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Zoe, please send everybody each other's number and email. Yeah, Nofi. Yeah.